Today's thought is sometimes you need to take a break from everyone and spend time alone to experience, appreciate, and love yourself. Good morning, students. Welcome back. I hope all of you are safe and fit at home, studying well, and completing your work on time. This video is for the students of class 8, subject English. And in this video, we are going to cover one poem of our textbook, that is Honeydew. This is our poem number 7, and the name of the poem is When I Set Out for Lyonnesse. It is written by famous poet Thomas Hardy. This is my lecture number 1 of the same poem. This poem is taken from Honeydew book. Students, in today's video, you shall read about the poet, objectives, main key points, introduction, and detailed explanation of the poem, along with word meanings. After then, we shall discuss the homework solution of the homework which was assigned you in lecture number 1 of chapter 7, that is a visit to Cambridge. Before start reading the poem in detail, let me tell you about the poet first. Thomas Hardy was born on 2nd June 1840 at Dorset in England. He was famous novelist, poet, and short story writer. His notable works are Far from the Madding Crowd, The Mayor of Casterbridge, Collected Poems, and Jude of Obscure. He died on 11th January 1928 at the age of 87 at Dorchester, Dorset in England. That's all about the poet. So students, first of all, let us discuss what are the objectives of the poem. Number 1 is to enable students to appreciate the beauty, rhyme and style of the poem. Number 2 is to enable people to read aloud the poem with proper rhythm and intonation. Number 3 is to enable students to enjoy recitation individuals or chorus of the poem. Number 4 is to make students understand the thought and imagination contained in the poem. Number 5 is to develop their aesthetic sense. So now let us discuss the main key points of the poem. As a young architect, the poet went to Lyonnesse to supervise the renovation work of the church. The place was 100 miles away. But when he returned from the place, he was very happy. There was also a piece of paper peeping out of his coat pocket. This paper had the draft of this poem. Everybody tried silently to guess the reason of his uncommon happiness. So these were the key points of the poem. Before start reading the poem in detail, first of all let us see the introduction. The poem When I Set Out for Lyonnesse is about the poet's journey to an imaginary country by the name of Lyonnesse and his transformation after returning back. In order to understand the poem, we must first understand its background. It is believed that Lyonnesse was a country that, according to Arthurian legend, that is King Arthur, was near Cornwall, that is a country near England, before sinking beneath the sea. Hence, the poet imagines going to that city. The poet, who was an architect, went to supervise the construction of a church in Cornwall. There he met Emma, who later on became his wife. Thus, the whole poem describes how the poet felt after meeting her. People noticed two things about him: a new glow in his eyes and a crumpled piece of paper sticking out of his coat pocket. That paper, it is recorded in one of his biographies, contained the draft of poem. You are going to read that very poem inspired by a visit to a place which the poet calls Lyonnesse. So this was all about introduction. So now let us read the complete poem in detail to know about what was happened next. So let us read stanza number 1. When I set out for Lyonnesse, 100 miles away, means in stanza 1 the poet says that when he set out for Lyonnesse, that is Cornwall in real, which was 100 miles away, the rhyme was on the spray. Rhyme means small ice crystals, spray means leaves and branches. And starlight lit my lonesomeness. Lonesomeness means loneliness, and starlight means the light that comes from stars. Means there was frost, that is small ice crystals, on the leaves and branches of the tree. The line gives an insight into the climate. It was winter season and thus chilling cold was everywhere. In poetry, winter symbolizes doom or sorrow or darkness. Hence, the poet seems to be hopeless. He feels lonely, and the starlight, that is twinkling stars, the light of which is very less, is his only hope. According to him, the twinkling stars lit means takes away his lonelinessness. When I set out for Lyonnesse, 100 miles away, the poet repeats the first two lines again. According to him, all this happened when he set out for Lyonnesse, which was 100 miles away from his house or from his home. So, the first stanza symbolizes hopelessness and a quest for something. Now, let us see the complete explanation of stanza 1. In the first stanza, the poet says that when he set out for Lyonnesse, that is Cornwall in real, which was 100 miles away, there was rime. Rime means frost, that is small ice crystals on the spray. Spray means leaves and branches. The line gives an insight into the climate. It was winter season and thus chilling cold was everywhere. In poetry, winter symbolizes doom or sorrow or darkness. Hence, the poet seems to be hopeless. He feels lonely, and the starlight, that is twinkling stars, the light of which is very less, is his only hope. According to him, the twinkling stars lit. Lit means take away his lonesomeness, that is loneliness. The poet repeats the first two lines. According to him, all this happened when he set out for Lyonnesse, which was 100 miles away from his home. The first stanza symbolizes hopelessness and a quest for something. Now let us read stanza 2. What would be chance at Lyonnesse? While I should sojourn there. Sojourn means temporarily stay there. So in stanza 2, the poet wonders what would happen at Lyonnesse when he will stay temporarily there. So the line depicts that the poet is quite curious and excited about the visit. No prophet durst declare. Durst means dare to tell. nor did the wisest wizard guess. Wizard means here future teller. He feels that neither priest can dare to tell future, or it can guessed by anyone by the future teller that what will happen there in the Lyonnesse. What would be chance at Lyonnesse while I should sojourn there? Again, the first two lines of the stanza are repeated by the poet. According to him, he does not know what will happen at Lyonnesse when he stay there, or when he will stay there temporarily. So, the second stanza describes the poet's curiosity. He is thinking that something great and memorable will happen at Lyonnesse. Now let us see the complete explanation of stanza 2. In the second stanza, the poet wonders what would bechance means happen at Lyonnesse when he will sojourn means stay temporarily there. The lines depict that the poet is quite curious and excited about the visit. He feels that neither prophet, here it means priest, can just declare means dare to tell, nor the wisest wizard means future teller can guess. Again, the first two lines of the stanza are repeated. According to him, he doesn't know what will happen at Lyonnesse when he will stay there. The second stanza describes the poet's curiosity. He is thinking that something great and memorable will happen at Lyonnesse. Now let us read stanza 3. When I returned from Lyonnesse with magic in my eyes. In stanza 3, the poet returns from Lyonnesse. He does not tell what exactly happened there. However, according to him, when he returned back from Lyonnesse, all people marked, or all people found that there was magic in his eyes, or his eyes were shining. All marked with mute surmise. My radiance rare and fathomless. Fathomless means deep and profound. Radiance means glow. They found that the glow and shine in his eyes is rare and deep and profound. Thus, the poet seems to have achieved something which he was questing for. His hope is fulfilled. He has gotten something that has transformed him. It was his becoming wife, that was Emma. Due to that, his eyes were shining. He was feeling very happy. When I returned from Lyonnesse with magic in my eyes. Again, the poet repeats the first two lines of the stanza. According to him, all this happened when he returned back from Lyonnesse with magic in his eyes. Now let us see the complete explanation of stanza 3. In the third stanza, the poet returns from Lyonnesse. He does not tell what exactly happened there. However, according to him, when he returned back from Lyonnesse, all the people marked means found that there was magic in his eyes. That is, his eyes were shining. They found that the radiance, that is glow and shine, in his eyes is rare and fathomless, means deep and profound. Thus, the poet seems to have achieved something which he was questing for. His hope is fulfilled. He has gotten something that has transformed him. It was Emma, his soon to be wife. Again, The poet repeats the first two lines of this stanza. According to him, all this happened when he returned back from Lyonnesse with magic in his eyes. So this was your poem. I hope all of you have understood. Students, you have to complete your homework on the basis of the poem explained by me. And your homework is read poem 7, that is When I Set for Lyonnesse, and write word meanings mentioned in the video. Based on the understanding of the poem, write the answers of the questions mentioned in the book Honeydew as. Page number 106, working with the poem, question number 1 to 3. Students, you have to do these questions working with the poem in your book only. Extra questions, that is question number 1 to 3. These questions you have to do in your English Fair notebook. Students, you have to write the meanings of the following words in your English Fair notebook. So the number 1 word is spray. Number 2 is lonesomeness. Number 3 is rhyme. Number 4 is dust. Number 5 is radiance. Still many students are not having their Honeydew book with them. So here in this video I have mentioned your homework in detail. So let us see working with the poem, which is on page number 106. Question number 1 is, in the first stanza, find words that show. Option number 1 is that it was very cold. Number 2, that it was late evening. Number 3, that the traveler was alone. Question number 2, part 1 is, something happened at Lyonnesse. It was A. Improbable, B. Impossible, C. Unforceable. Part 2 is, pick out 2 lines from stanza 2 to justify your answer. Question number 3, part 1 is, read the lines, that is stanza 3, that implies the following. Everyone noticed something and they made guesses but didn't speak a word. Part 2. Now read the line that refers to what they noticed. Extra questions are, question number 1 is, how did the poet feel while traveling to Lyonnesse? Question number 2 is, what changes occur in the poet after he returned? Question number 3 is, which season was there when the poet traveling? Students, now in this video we shall discuss homework solution of the homework which was assigned you in lecture number 1 of chapter 7, that is a visit to Cambridge. Students, I have already explained you the chapter along with word meanings in our previous video in detail. As I assigned you homework which was to be done by you on the basis of your understanding. And your homework was read chapter 7, that is a visit to Cambridge, and write word meanings mentioned in the video. Based on the understanding of the chapter, write the answers of the questions mentioned in the book Honeydew as. Page number 104, comprehension check, question number 1 to 4. Page number 104 and 5, working with the text, question number 1 to 11. So students, now let us discuss the meanings of the words which were given you as a homework in your previous lecture. Now let's the meaning of the words in detail. Number 1 is gleefully, means very happily. Number 2 is inflection, means rise and fall of the voice in speaking. Number third is propelled, means drive or push something forward. Here it means calm. Number fourth is buoyant, means intensely active and vibrant. Number fifth is slump, means sit, lean or fall heavily or limply, or we can say and limply. So now let's discuss questions and answers in detail. Now let us see comprehension check, which is on page number 104. Question number 1. Which is the right sentence? Question number 1. Cambridge was my metaphor for England. To the writer. Number 1. Cambridge was a reputed university in England. Number 2. England was famous for Cambridge. Number 3. Cambridge was the real England. The answer is part 2. England was famous for Cambridge. Question number 2 is, the writer phoned Stephen Hawking's house. Part 1. From the nearest phone booth. Part 2. From outside a phone booth. Part 3. From inside a phone booth. The answer of the question is part 2, from outside a phone booth. Question number 3 is, every time he spoke to the scientist, the writer felt guilty because number 1, he wasn't sure what he wanted to ask. Number 2, he forced the scientist to use his voice synthesizer. Number 3, he was face to face with a legend. The answer of the question is part 2, he forced the scientist to use his voice synthesizer. Question number 4 is, I felt a huge relief in the possibilities of my body. In the given context, the highlighted words refer to number 1, shifting in the wheelchair, turning the wrist. Number 2, standing up, walking. Number 3, speaking and writing. The answer of the question is number 1, that is shifting in the wheelchair, turning the wrist. So now let's discuss working with the text, which is on page number 104 and 105. Question number 1 is part 1. Did the prospect of meeting Stephen Hawking make the writer nervous? If so, why? The answer of the question is yes. The prospect of meeting Stephen Hawking made the writer nervous because Stephen Hawking was a great scientist. Part 2. Did he at the same time feel very excited? If so, why? The answer of the question is yes. He felt excited because it made him stronger to see someone like him achieving great success in life. Question number 2 is, guess the first question put to the scientist by the writer. The answer of the question is, the writer might have asked the scientist if he had been brave to reach where he had. Question number 3 is, Stephen Hawking said, I have had no choice. Does the writer think there was a choice? What was it? The answer of the question is yes. The writer feels there is a choice for Stephen Hawking, and it is to live creatively with the fact of his disabled body. He should have kept himself busy in doing creative work so that he might feel his mind preoccupied and therefore not less important in society. Question number 4 is, I could feel his anguish. What could be the anguish or the anguish? The answer of the question is Stephen Hawking's mind was active. However, his thoughts were without emotions. The writer could feel his anguish in the same manner. Or you can write down the anguish could be that though Hawking's mind was full of thoughts, he could not give them expression or he could not speak them. Question number 5 is what endeared the scientist to the writer so that he said he was looking at one of the most beautiful men in the world? The answer of the question is when Stephen Hawking smiled at one of the questions put up by the writer felt that he was looking at the most beautiful men in the world. Or you can write down the writer thought that he was looking at one of the most beautiful men in the world because he gave one way smile and gave an honest answer that he was annoyed when someone like the writer disturbed him in his work. Question number 6 is read about the description of the beautiful man, which is the most beautiful sentence in the description. The answer of the question is the line is or the most beautiful sentence in the description is before you like a lantern whose walls are worn, so this you glimpse only the light inside is the incandescence of a man. Question number 7 part 1 is if the lantern is the man, what would its walls be? The answer of the question is its wall would be the human body. Or you can write down the walls of the lantern is Hawking's case where his skeleton like physical structure. Part 2 is what is housed within the thin walls? The answer of the question is lights of life is housed within the thin walls. Part 3 is what general conclusion does the writer draw from this comparison? The answer of the question is the writer draws a general conclusion that inside our body is the external soul. Question number 8 is what is the scientist's message for the disabled? The answer of the question is the message was that the disabled should concentrate on what they are good at. Question number 9 is why does the writer refer to the guitar incident? Which idea does it support? The answer of the question is the writer spent many years trying to play a big Spanish guitar. One night he loosened the strings joyfully. The incident supports the idea that the disabled people should practice only what they are good at. Question number 10 is the writer expresses his great gratitude to Stephen Hawking. What is the gratitude for? The answer of the question is the writer expresses his gratitude to Stephen Hawking because he has been an inspiration for him. He feels that if he has been as brave as Stephen, he would have achieved a lot. Question number 11 is complete the following sentences, taking their appropriate parts from both the boxes below. Number 1, there was his assistant on the line. Answer is, and I told him I had come in a wheelchair from India. Number 2 is, you get fed up with people as asking you to be brave? The answer is as if you have a courage account on which you are too lazy to draw a check. Number 3 is there he was. The answer is tapping at a little switch in his hand trying to find the words on his computer. Number 4 is you look at his eyes which can speak. The answer is and they are saying something huge and urgent. It is hard to tell what. Number 5, it doesn't do much good to know. The answer is that there are people smiling with admiration to see you breathing still. That's all for today. So this is the end of the lecture. Students, if you like our videos, then hit on the like button and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you and have a nice day.